It's time to get unstuck. Do you love listening to this podcast? I'd love to have you give me a 5-star review over on Apple Podcasts or on your favorite podcast app. And if you'd like to help me keep the lights on, I'd appreciate a donation. You can do that at livingmoonmeditation.com/podcast. Are you tired of feeling stuck? Let's shift your energy. Start with my free quiz I made just for you. You'll get personalized tips for getting unstuck based on where your blocks are. You can find it at bit.ly/getunstuckchakraquiz. I have the link in the show notes for you. Last week we talked about the basics of numerology and we discussed the generally accepted meanings of numbers. And I told you that we would go further in depth with numerology. So that's what we're doing today. We're going to take that a bit further and talk about name and birthday numerology. So we said that numerology is the study of numbers and how their energetic vibrations correspond to different things in our lives. So I may not have exactly said that word for word like that, but it's basically the meaning of what I was talking about in our last episode. So each number has a unique energy and it can give insight into different aspects of our lives, including our personalities, strengths, weaknesses, and even our life path. And again, I did a brief overview of the accepted meaning of the numbers, and I also talked about how that's the accepted meaning and how it may be different for you and how some numerologists have different meanings behind what they're talking about or what meanings they associate with numbers and how they use that for reading different aspects of somebody's life or personality. So today let's start with name numerology. Now, the name we are given at birth can have a significant impact on our lives. And when I do numerological readings with my clients, I focus on the name that they were given at birth. Now, that can change depending on the situation. Sometimes a married woman will want to use her married name, but in general, I prefer to use a person's name given at birth, first and last, or first, middle, and last, because that name is the one that has the energetic resonance throughout their life. There are other instances, like a married woman who chooses to use her married name instead of her maiden name, or someone who is a convert to a different religion, like let's say Judaism, for instance, just because I have converted to Judaism. So I'm going to use that as an example. Part of the process was choosing a Hebrew name to use. And if I had decided to use that as my legal name, which I did not, but some people do, but had I decided to use that as my legal name, then that may be the one that I would want to use for numerological purposes. Or transgender individuals who have a name that they use that is different than their legal government name that they were assigned at birth would more than likely want to use that name instead of the name that they were assigned at birth. So there are instances when I will use a person's name or preferred name for their numerological reading instead of their birth name. But in general, for most instances, I use a person's birth name because that does have the energetic vibrations of their entire life, past, present, and future. Name numerology can help us to understand how the name that we're using influences us. Now, each letter in our name has a corresponding number, and by adding up these numbers, we can calculate our name number. So I talked last episode about, in English, there are 26 letters in the alphabet, and so we correspond A is 1 all the way to Z is 26. So we would take that correspondence between the letter and the number to calculate our name number. Let's use the name James for an example. James. Now we take each letter of the name and find out the corresponding number that goes with it. So J is 10, A is 1, M is 13, E is 5, and S is 19. So if you add those numbers together, 10 plus 1 plus 13 plus 5 plus 19, we get the number 48. And then we would add 4 plus 8 together and get the number 12. And then we would further reduce the number 12 to 1 plus 2 equals 3. So the numerology for the name James is 3. Now each name number has its own unique energy and can give insight into our personality traits and life path. So for example, those with a name number of 1 are natural leaders, while those with a name number of 2 are often peacemakers and diplomats. So I'm not going to go into life path in this episode. I may or may not do that in a future episode. I don't think it's what I'm going to be talking about in our next episode, but I may or may not come back to it in the future. But that's life path numbers are based on our name or our birth date. So we just talked about name numbers. Now let's talk about birthday numbers or birthday numerology. So just like we can find out a number that corresponds to our name, we can also find out a number, one single number that corresponds to our birth date or our date of birth. And that can also reveal a lot about our life path and our personality. So to calculate our birthday number, we do it similarly to the name number, only we don't have to convert it from a letter form. We already have in number form. And so we just add up the digits in our birth date. So, for example, if your birthday is August 3rd, 1995, you would add up the digits in your birth date, 8 plus 3 plus, and then you would do each digit in 1995. So it would be 8 plus 3 plus 1 plus 9 plus 9 plus 5, and you would get 35. Now you would add the digits together, 3 plus 5, and get 8. So your birthday number is 8. Now, just like each name number has its own unique energy, each birthday number has its own unique energy and can give insight into our strengths, weaknesses, and life path. And for example, those with a birthday number of 1 are seen as independent and ambitious, while those with a birthday number of 8 are focused on material success and financial abundance. Again, these go with generally accepted meanings of numbers, and there is a lot more involved in life path than just figuring out what that number means. But understanding your name number and your birthday number are great ways to begin your delving into numerology. And those numbers can help you to gain insight into yourself and your life path. And when you harness the energies of these numbers, you can unlock your full potential and live a more meaningful life. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Get Unstuck with Michele Leffler. It's truly been my pleasure to talk to you today. If you like this episode or you think it will be useful for someone else, please consider leaving a review on your favorite podcast app. If you've got any questions, send me an email to hello@livingmoonmeditation.com. Here's to getting you unstuck so you can be grounded, joyful, and energetic. See you next time.